You are not warned when your mind begins to decay. It does not happen suddenly. The process is slow, barely noticeable, quiet. You are told to be kind, to forgive, to open up. And each time you follow this advice, a part of your strength dies. You were not taught this. You thought you were taught to obey and to apologize for your silence, to explain your detachment, to feel guilty for the desire to control. But Machiavelli understood a truth that was never taught to you. A person who bends to everyone will eventually break. The world does not reward softness. It does not honor kindness. It studies it, uses it, turns it into a weapon, because strength does not lie in accessibility. It lies in calculation, silence, stillness, discipline. This is what shakes the world, not emotions, not explanations. When you stop wasting energy on approval, you become someone they cannot reach, someone they cannot read. This is not inspiration. This is preparation for war, a psychological war against everything inside you that was created to make you manageable. The impulse that made you loud when you needed to be silent, every reaction exposing your weakness. From now on, we do not heal to feel better. We analyze pain as intelligence. We do not strive for peace. We become the storm that calms everything around us. This is a mental battle. And this is not the beginning of your journey. This is the end of your obedience. You are not here to be loved. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become dangerous in a world that respects only control. If you feel your old mind beginning to crack right now, write this down. I am not made to bend. I am made to dominate. Write it down, cement it. This is the first step. Let's begin. First, always, look weaker than you are. The most dangerous people are those no one expects. They do not enter with noise. They do not declare war. They allow the world to consider them harmless, and then they strike precisely. This is not cowardice. This is psychological warfare. Machiavelli knew this. If they start to fear you too early, they will unite against you. But if they underestimate you, they will open the gates themselves. That is why your strength must never be fully displayed. Show them only what you want to provoke a reaction from. Pretend you are still figuring things out. Speak modestly. Ask questions to which you already know the answers. Let them think they have dissected you, and then flip the board. People do not defend themselves against the quiet. They relax around them. They talk too much. They reveal too much. Here your advantage grows. While they perform, you analyze. While they broadcast their thoughts, you memorize their weaknesses. This is the law of strategic invisibility, of making your influence penetrate unnoticed. You do not need to be in the spotlight. You need to be the one who is not noticed until it is too late. When you appear weak, people become careless. They stop trying to manipulate you, believing that you have no leverage. Excellent. Let them think that. While they underestimate your patience, study their habits. When the time comes to act, you will do so clearly, quietly, and without warning. You are not here to impress. Your goal, in essence, is to infiltrate, to blend in with your surroundings so that no one feels threatened until it is too late. It is already under your control. So ask yourself, are you wasting your strength just to be noticed? Or are you using your silence as a weapon to instill fear? Think about that. If you are ready to become invisible weaponry in any room, then they see you as harmless. Consider this a rule because from now on, you will never give away your true power for free. The second rule is to never fix what benefits you. For that, you may be labeled a manipulator, cold, and calculating. But the truth is, most people try to fix what already works for them because they fear appearing ruthless. But here is what Machiavelli knew. You never destroy an advantage, no matter how broken it appears to others. If it strengthens your position, the world will pressure you to do the right thing, to be fair. But power does not grow from honesty. It grows from asymmetry. If the chaos around distracts your enemies, why remove it? If dysfunction causes them to reveal their plans, why fix it? If a lie strengthens your control, why confess it? The powerful do not fix things for appearances. They intentionally leave systems broken because they know who benefits from the chaos. It is the observer, not the complainer, who wins. If something broken makes you invisible, protected, or superior, leave it broken. It is not evil. It is leverage. They will try to make you feel guilty about it, as if you owe your clarity to the weak, as if you owe your strength to the vulnerable. You owe nothing to anyone. Your mind is not a rescue mission. It is a fortress. And every time you analyze a situation that quietly gave you an advantage just to appear noble, you burn your own throne. Not everything broken needs your repair. Some things should remain as they are because they work for you. This is the Machiavellian approach. Do not fix it. Ask who benefits if it remains broken. If the answer is you, do not move. Control is not about perfection. It is about opposition. And sometimes your best move looks like a broken table, extracting benefit from the chaos that no one else can understand. So ask yourself, are you doing something out of strategy or out of guilt? Think about that if you are tired of being the savior in someone else's problems. I do not fix what feeds me. Say that. Live by it. This is how a predator weathers the storm without cleaning the blade for the prey. The third rule is to not argue, isolate yourself, and observe. Arguments are an invitation to reveal yourself, and those who accept it lose not money, but power, energy, and mystery. Understand this. Every time you engage in an argument, it is as if you leave your throne to prove your point to those who do not deserve it. This is not strength disguised as noise. Machiavelli understood the difference between governance and reaction. He did not teach you to defend your truth. He taught you to defend your position. Understanding is a trap. It seduces your ego to reveal too much. Your thoughts, your triggers, your need to be right. And once they learn how to provoke you, they begin to own you. But isolation is a weapon. When you retreat, you deprive them of what they are truly seeking: your attention, your validation, your emotional energy. When you observe in silence, you become impenetrable. Their penetrability is not vulnerability. The weak need to be heard, while the strong only need to be seen, because when you isolate yourself, you stop reacting. You begin to record. You study tonal patterns and unspoken words. You watch how they speak when they think you are not listening. You notice who jokes too much, who explains too quickly, who tries to dominate conversations with volume. These are signs, and you only notice them when you stop striving to be right. The most psychologically dominant people in history were not loud. They were calm, calculating, and quiet. They watched as people destroyed their own reputations by begging for answers. And they did not provide them, because silence is not absence. It is dominance under control. You do not need to prove anything. Your calmness will do that for you. Your detachment will expose them. Your absence will punish deeper than any answer, because when you argue, you lower yourself to their level. When you isolate yourself, you force them to confront their own voice echoing in your silence. This is not about avoiding conflict. It is about knowing how to win it without losing your advantage, without revealing your strategy, without giving them the satisfaction of drawing you into chaos. You are not here to be right. You are here to rule. Ask yourself this question. When was the last time your silence made them think? When was the last time you refused to explain yourself, and it made them explain themselves twice? Take note of this, because from this moment on, you do not argue, you disappear, you do not engage, you observe, you do not react, you document. And when the time comes, you do not explain yourself, you act. Command respect through absence. People do not appreciate what is always around. They become accustomed to your presence. They normalize your energy, your time, your attention, until they begin to perceive them as background noise. And the more you offer this freely, the more invisible you become. But Machiavelli understood this psychological truth long before it was named. If they can easily access you, they will never fully respect you. Absence is not retreat. It is the consolidation of power. It is the removal of your light to show how much they depend on your presence. You do not earn respect by being available. You earn it by disappearing at the moment of their highest expectations. You leave quietly, allowing your absence to speak for you. Your absence becomes a mirror reflecting who they truly are without you. This law is not about pride. It is about scarcity. The human mind values what it fears losing, and when you withdraw, you disrupt their usual order. You make them question their confidence. You remind them that your presence is not a given but a privilege. Most people try to win affection by being everywhere, believing that constant presence creates connection. But that is not the case. It creates dependence on your energy without cost, and that which costs nothing is perceived as nothing. Therefore, you do not explain your absence. You do not warn them. You do not say, "I need space." You simply disappear and allow them to feel the void. Your absence is a weapon when used correctly. It carves your image into their surroundings. It makes them feel small, without a single word from you. It makes them question their value to you. And once someone begins to doubt their worth to you, you turn the situation around. You are no longer the one trying to be noticed. Now they fear being forgotten. That is the shift. That is the power. You must learn to retreat intentionally, to disappear strategically, to remind people that you are not someone to lean on. You are here to be respected, and respect does not grow in noise. It grows in silence, in retreat, in absence. This is especially important when people start to take you for granted, when they believe you will always respond, always show up, always solve the problem. Do not complain, do not warn, just remove your presence like a sword drawn from its sheath. Let absence speak the words that your pride will never say. When you return, if you return, you will do so on your terms, calmly, composed, without apologies. You do not owe them explanations, because respect once lost can only be regained through distance. Ask yourself this question. Are you present out of strength or out of fear of being forgotten? Comment on this now if you no longer want to be someone they take for granted. My absence teaches what my words never could. Number 5. Reward slowly, punish without warning. If your rewards are predictable, they lose their power. If your punishments are delayed, they lose their sharpness. And the powerful understand one principle that most people ignore. Influence is everything, and nothing impacts like surprise. Therefore, you reward with calculation and punish with silence. Machiavelli warned rulers that it is better to be feared than loved. But he did not mean reckless cruelty. He spoke of precision, controlled consequences of rewards that seem deserved, and punishments that seem unforgettable. The more predictable you are, the more others learn to manipulate your nature. But when your reaction is delayed and surgically precise, you become dangerous because no one knows when you will strike. You reward slowly because it compels them to strive for your approval. It makes your praise valuable. This ensures that their consistency is not superficial, but sincere. If you give too quickly, they pretend to be loyal. If you do it too often, they stop valuing the reward. But if you give rarely, your recognition becomes sacred, a rare signal that you are truly impressed. This is power. This is psychological influence. Punishment, however, is an entirely different story. You do not announce it, do not threaten, do not hint. You simply disappear, withdraw your energy and attention, and when they ask what went wrong, you respond with silence, allowing them to remain in ignorance, to sink into doubt. This is correction. This is a jab, not fury, not reaction, but mere removal. Because a person who punishes silently creates paranoia. They will fear not only making a mistake again, but also fear not knowing what that mistake looks like to you. This is how you maintain control without raising your voice. Your calmness is the sharpest form of discipline. When people know that you do not give second chances, they begin to behave differently around you, more cautiously and with greater respect. And that is what you need. You must become someone who does not reward noise and does not correct with noise. Someone who observes everything but reacts rarely. This rarity drives people mad. They will try to decipher you, guess what you like, what you hate, what pleases you, and this guessing game is your throne. Because while they are trying to satisfy you, you have already won. So do not praise too quickly. Do not forgive too quickly. Do not correct emotions. You reward results and punish disrespect not with chaos, but with absence. Make it clear that gaining your attention is a privilege and losing it is a sentence. Ask yourself, do your rewards make them loyal or lazy? Do your punishments make them better or more brazen? Write this down now. If you are tired of being predictable, I reward with precision, first punishing with silence. Let them earn everything. Let them fear losing anything. This is not cruelty. This is control. Rule number 6. Reveal nothing, let them talk. The one who speaks first always loses ground, because every word you say gives them a thread to pull on. Every opinion you express, every emotion you reveal, every plan you expose, all of this becomes fuel for their strategy. Much of this was understood by Eli centuries ago. A person who reveals nothing is the hardest to attack. The most dangerous person in the room is not the one who speaks confidently, but the one who watches silently. You have been trained to share too much. Society tells you that vulnerability is strength, that openness creates connection. But here is the truth. Vulnerability is not strength if it is not turned into a weapon, and openness does not create respect. It creates vulnerability. The more you speak, the more predictable you become. And predictable people are not feared. They are controlled. Let them talk. Let them share unnecessary details. Let them explain their motivations, their insecurities, their weaknesses. Most people cannot stand silence. They fill it with awkward admissions and random remarks. Meanwhile, you remain silent, nodding, reflecting, observing. Every word they utter becomes potential ammunition for the future. This is the skill of gathering information. This is psychological warfare. When you speak, every word must be concise, strategically calculated, controlled. Every phrase should have a purpose. You do not seek communication, you direct it. You do not express emotions, you set the course. You spend a week with that opinion, you express results. The less they know about your true mind, the more power you have over their consciousness. Your silence should feel like pressure, like a weight hanging in the room, making people doubt themselves, reconsider their words, strive to make an impression. This is control. Not out of cruelty, but because you have learned to resist the desire to be understood, realizing that understanding simplifies your definition. If they can define you, they can weaken you. Let them talk. Let them think they are leading. Let them dominate the space, while you dominate the invisible battlefield, where logic, time, and silence are more important. Most argue to be right. You remain to hold your position, because once you speak, you have marked your viewpoint. But when you are silent, they expend energy trying to figure it out. Understand, clarity is not always equivalent. In Machiavellian terms, obscurity is often the highest form of control. When people cannot be cornered, they waver, take cautious steps, doubt themselves, and this wavering gives you time to move, adjust, and dominate. If someone constantly asks personal questions, do not answer. Redirect. Bring the focus back to them. Ask a more interesting question. Let them think they are controlling the process while you gather data. Their language, tone, insecurities, what they defend, what they avoid. You create a psychological profile. Study the terrain before the war begins. And if they insist, if they try to corner you, force you to be candid, smile, say less, be light, evasive. After all, the most powerful people do not provide clarity. They create an impression. They do not lie, but they do not reveal the whole truth either, because the power is not in the truth. It lies in what they consider to be true. So you maintain an advantage in conversation, relationships, business, conflict in any sphere. Becoming an enigma, unyielding, not mechanical, but measured, unpredictable. You are inaccessible to emotional analysis. You are unavailable for mental mapping. You are a moving target, shrouded in silence. This is especially important when dealing with manipulators, narcissists, or those who try to play on emotions. They feed on your reactions, study your expressions, draw information that you thoughtlessly provide. But if you give nothing away, they start to get anxious, make mistakes, reveal themselves. Because power-hungry people strive for control, and when they cannot manage your mind, they lose their grip. It is then that your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their own instability. You do not need to say anything, just remain still. Allow them to burn out trying to decipher you. In social circles, this silence makes you a magnet, a mystery. People begin to wonder what you are thinking, what your story is, why you do not share everything like everyone else. They may call you arrogant, cold, detached, but beneath all that lies curiosity. And curiosity is leverage. People are drawn to what they do not understand, and when they want access to your mind, they respect your boundaries more. Let people misunderstand you. Let them create stories about you. You owe them nothing, not explanations, not approval, not your inner world. The more they speculate, the more they observe, and the more they observe, the more you control the narrative. Ask yourself, When was the last time someone tried to impress you simply because you did not reveal what impresses you? When was the last time? Silence can make someone so nervous that they will speak, making a mistake. If you are tired of being read, know this. My silence is my shield. Your words are my weapon. Let this settle in your mind, for from this moment on, your goal is to be incomprehensible, to be mysterious. You are not here to share, but to study, listen, preserve, and strike only when it benefits you. Rule number 7. Control the environment or be subjected to it. The one who sets the tone of the situation first usually wins, because once the frame is established, everyone else adjusts to it. They react, defend themselves, respond, and every reaction is a form of submission. That is exactly why Machiavelli warned us. Perception is a lever of power. If you control how people see a situation, you do not need to control them directly. They will limit themselves. The frame of reference is an invisible battlefield. It determines who is right, who is confident, who is pursuing, and who is beneath. Most people fall into frames that are created to hold them back. They respond to questions they should have dismissed. They justify themselves when no one has condemned them. They shrink under expectations they should never have accepted. This happens when you enter someone else's frame unarmed. But strong individuals create the room before they even enter it. They set the pace, the tone of the boundary, before they say a word. They are already framing the meeting, and by controlling the frame, you control the emotional logic of the people within it. Your silence will be seen as confidence, restraint, maturity, indifference, or mystery. You have not changed. You have simply owned the context. Manage the frame by controlling your appearance, your energy, and your words. Never enter a space seeking comfort or approval. Enter as if you belong there, quiet, confident, focused. People are more likely to react to your energy than to your language. If your frame is strong, they will reflect it. If it is weak, they will impose their own. If someone tries to establish a frame against you, challenge it without arguing, but by rejecting the premise itself. If they ask why you are always so detached, you do not explain. You respond. I value distance. It preserves reality. You simply redefine distance as strength, and now they adjust to you. If someone says, "Why are you so cold?" Your answer, because heat clouds judgment. Never defend yourself. Redefine. This is control over the frame, and it is not only verbal but also visually physical. Your posture, your pause, your reaction time, all of this sets the tone. When you move slowly, when you listen more than you speak, when your facial expression does not waver, you frame the space. You send a message. This is my world. You are only a guest here. People will try to pull you into their stories, into their frames of drama, urgency, guilt, or pity. Do not give in. Let them play, shout, accuse you. You remain calm and steadfast. Let the chaos bounce off your tranquility. Only then will the room begin to see who truly controls the situation. Ask yourself, are you living by your own frames, or are you constantly reacting to others? If you are ready to set the tone in every room you enter, know this. You are building the frame. They are simply adjusting to you. From this moment on, you do not explain yourself. You define the terms, not to impress, not to dominate, but to never become a prisoner of someone else's perception. Point number 8. Never ask for access. Become the access. Access is power. And in this world, the person who asks for it finds themselves under control. Look around. Everyone is chasing access. To attention, influence, money, people, to rooms that they believe will validate them. But as soon as you start chasing access, you have already acknowledged that you have no power. You have given it away. And no one respects a person who chases the throne. They respect those whom others want to approach but cannot reach. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that true influence is not about being accepted, but about being needed, not invited, but sought after. Because it is your presence that determines whether leaders move forward or collapse. You do not want to be at the table because you asked to be there. You want to be at the table because without you, the room lacks weight. How do you achieve this position? Stop chasing visibility and start becoming valuable in your absence. Create so much psychological and intellectual emotional capital quietly that your absence becomes a problem for others. This is the power. Not to shout to be noticed, but to compel recognition through results and absence. Most men try to become significant through networking, wasting their time trying to impress, flatter, and prove themselves. They dress the part, speak the part. They strive to get inside, but the strong do the opposite. They do not try to gain access. They create it. They build something so precise, so powerful, so focused, that others begin to circle around. Not out of pity, but out of necessity, out of fear of exclusion, out of curiosity for the one person who has not tried to impress them. You must become that person. You do this by cultivating distance, rejecting cheap forms of acceptance, making your work, your silence, your boundaries louder than your words. Imagine a hall full of people, all talking, all trying to be heard. And one person sits calmly, quietly, focused, observing, unbothered. This is the one everyone notices. This is the one everyone wants access to. Not because he is loud, but because he is focused. He radiates authority without even trying. Because this authority was earned not through recognition, but through isolation, observation, and execution. If you are always available, you are not valuable. If you are always present, you are ordinary. If you explain yourself every time, you become predictable. Stop doing that. Start holding back. Speak less. Move less. Let them come to you. This is the true law. You must become what they want access to. This means you build a life so disciplined, so mentally fortified, that most people cannot even comprehend how you operate. You rise early not because you want to boast, but because you do not trust the world to keep up with you. You keep your circle small not because you are antisocial, but because you understand that leverage gets lost in the noise. You distance yourself from gossip, parties of superficial status, not because you are weak, but because you are building a position of influence, not applause. And when they notice, when they finally look your way, ask yourself what you have been doing, where you have been. You do not explain. You let your results speak for themselves. You allow your aura to resonate, and you let your absence speak louder than their noise. This is how you become the access point, not the seeker. People will try to criticize you for this, saying you think you are better, and the answer is simple. No, I just do not need to be understood. Understand this. The person who controls access can say no, and that person holds all the power. If you are always chasing access, you will never have the strength to walk away from what does not serve you. And if you cannot walk away, you already belong. Your silence becomes a filter. Your detachment becomes a test. Your presence becomes a rare event that others consider a privilege to witness. And when you enter a room, when you speak, they listen not because you demanded it, but because you deprived them of it until they felt the hunger to notice. This is how the power of Machiavelli works. It does not ask. It builds. It does not explain. It frames. It does not chase. It attracts by withdrawing. At the deepest level, when you become the access point, people begin to fight for your time. They adjust to your standards. They doubt themselves. When you fall silent, they reconsider what your absence might mean. You become the center of psychological control, not because you are a manipulator, but because you have created a gravity that pulls people into your orbit without lifting a finger. This is not high-mindedness. It is architecture. It is the blueprint of kings. So ask yourself where you are chasing access. What approval still matters? What presence makes you forget your worth? Embrace this right now. I do not chase access. I become the access point. Point number 8. Burn the bridge after you cross it. Every person carries the weight of their past. Relationships, betrayals, alliances that once seemed powerful but now drain them. And the weak maintain these connections out of guilt, nostalgia, and fear. But Machiavelli does not look back. He knows that the bridge that brought you here must burn, because if it remains, the temptation to return will also remain. You do not evolve while remaining tied to people who were made for your former self. Growth is not a group activity. Transformation requires isolation. You do not maintain lines of communication with those who once doubted you, disrespected you, or tried to control your path. You burn those lines strategically, quietly, and without explanation. Machiavelli taught that when a prince acquires new power, he must destroy the old order, because if he lingers, he becomes a threat. Your old circle is the old order. They do not respect this new version of you. They remember the person who wavered, who asked, who doubted themselves, and they will continue to speak with that person, even when he no longer exists. So what do? You eliminate access, you burn the bridge, and when they ask why, you say nothing. Because at that moment, when you try to explain your absence, you have already lost control. Power does not explain, it departs. The person who must justify his silence still fears being misunderstood. You are here, not to be understood, but to be either obeyed or left alone. Make them feel your absence more strongly than they ever felt your presence. That is how a legacy is carved out. That is how fear is sown. Now let us talk about why most people do not do this. Because burning bridges seems like something permanent, and permanent decisions frighten the indecisive. But that is exactly why it works. That is why it is necessary. When there is no way back, your mind sharpens, your focus narrows. There is no room for doubt, for weakness. You force yourself to move forward because there is no safety net behind you. That is how warriors are forged. That is how kings rise, not looking back, but removing every path that leads to weakness. Sometimes the bridge that needs to be burned is not a person. It is a version of yourself, a mindset, a habit, and an identity that once protected you, but now holds you back. Burn it without ceremony, without apologies. You owe nothing to your past self. That person was trying to survive, and you are here to dominate. A different game, different rules.